In the 4th year of my marriage to James Howard, he kept a girl outside. In the lively private room, James' buddies kept calling the girl little sister-in-law. I stood outside the door and watched as James slowly knelt down amidst the crowd's cheers. Taking out the diamond ring ID found in his overcoat pocket a couple of days ago, he was about to propose to that young girl. Say yes to him. Say yes to him. Looking at James' expectant face, I felt a pang of sorrow outside the door. We'd been married for 6 years. And I thought we were in love with each other. Who would have thought he'd still have an affair? Then, the moment the girl said I do, I pushed open the door of the private room. It was so funny. I simply couldn't hold it in anymore. The romantic atmosphere came to an abrupt end as I entered. Everyone in the private room looked shocked when they saw me. Clearly, they didn't expect me to show up. Sister-in-law. The playboy closest to the door dropped his champagne glass to the floor with a snap. James was still half hugging the girl and trying to put the ring on her finger. The diamond ring reflected a blinding light under the lamp. The girl and his arms wearing a white dress turned her head, showing a profile that resembled mine a bit. Who is this? The girl asked with innocent confusion in her voice. Hello. I strode over and reached out my hand. I'm James Howard's wife, Emma White. Then I took out our marriage certificate from my bag. This is the original. Do you want to check the registration date? Or we can go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow to check. But I think you can rest assured because forging a certificate is illegal. I don't need to create a problem for myself. This girl obviously knew about me. Seeing me reach out my hand, she looked at James helplessly. James finally came to his senses. Emma, please listen to my explanation. Happy 3rd anniversary. I interrupted him, then placed the carefully wrapped gift box on the coffee table and sat in the main seat. Has the meal started? If not, I'll have a meal with you. I'm starving after a whole day of teaching. As soon as I finished speaking, the air in the private room seemed to freeze. Clearly, I wasn't welcome here. James stood up, his face gloomy as he blocked in front of the girl. Emma, stop making a scene. Seeing his defensive look, I gave a soft laugh and slowly unwrapped the cutlery. Making a scene? I'm just here to give Mr. Howard our wedding anniversary gift and to see. I glanced at the girl. What kind of person is worth you spending our joint property secretly for half a year? The girl's face turned deathly pale, and her fingers tightly clutched the corner of her skirt. James, didn't you say you two had already separated and were preparing for a divorce? Separated? I raised my eyebrows and pulled up a photo of a family gathering on my phone. This is a photo of our family dinner last month. And over the years, except when he's on business trips, Mr. Howard comes home every day. Most importantly, he was so affectionate with me yesterday and gave me a set of expensive jewelry. If this is what you call separation, then I have nothing to say. James' buddies all lowered their heads. No one dared to interrupt. He took a deep breath and lowered his voice. Emma, let's go back and talk. Sure. I stood up and casually picked up the diamond ring that had fallen on the floor. But before that I turned to the girl. Do you know this ring was originally for me? She suddenly looked up, looking at James in disbelief. James finally lost his composure. Emma, why are you in such a hurry? I slowly put the ring in my pocket. After all, the money for it was also mine. I'm just curious. Mr. Howard was choosing an anniversary gift for me while preparing a proposal ring for you. He's really good at time management. I just didn't expect that as the president of a listed company. You'd deceive 2 people with 1 gift. The girl's eyes were red with tears. She suddenly pushed James away. You dared to lie to me. James tried to grab her, but I grabbed him first. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. The food hasn't been served yet. I rang the service bell and smiled at the waiter who came in. Add a set of cutlery and open the most expensive bottle of wine. Let's celebrate this special day. James finally couldn't bear it and he grabbed my wrist. What on earth are you trying to do? I easily shook off his hand. And my smile turned cold. James. Since my student won the championship today and I'm in a good mood. Let's be polite first. I'm here to have this farewell meal with you. After this, our two families will be at odds with each other. And there won't be any more warm moments like this. The private room fell into complete silence. James' face turned a bit pale. He knew our relationship was completely over. The White family and the Howard family were old friends. Emma and James were like childhood sweethearts. Because our parents often got together. We'd been inseparable since childhood. So everyone around us said we'd get married one day. After hearing it so many times, we kids naturally believed it. I don't know what James thought. But I always thought I'd marry him one day. The first turning point happened when I was 12. That's when my boxing talent suddenly emerged. And after repeated persuasion from my coach, I started my professional boxing career. Normally, no wealthy family would send their daughter to a professional boxing career. But the problem was that my parents' thinking was a bit strange. My brother and I were named Emma White and Michael White. As a result, my careless father got our names mixed up when signing us up for classes. I went to the boxing class that my brother wanted to go to. And my brother went to the swimming class that I wanted to take. By accident. My brother and I both showed great talent and physical fitness in our second choice classes. On the advice of our teachers, we started our professional careers and even successfully made it into the provincial team. As a boxer, I needed a strong physique. But at that time, domineering CEO novels suddenly became popular among students. They were so popular that even boys knew something about them. The heroines in those novels were always delicate, obedient, and cute. Even the paper-like characters described in words seemed to have a fragrance on them. Therefore, someone like me who can knock out two of James Howard's teeth with one punch naturally isn't in his selection range. I couldn't care less about that. To successfully enter the national team, I need a lot of daily training to ensure my performance steadily improves. You could say that every day. As soon as I open my eyes, it's studying and training. And as soon as I close them, it's sleeping. I have no mood to deal with these trivial romantic matters. When I won another medal and came home on vacation, James was already in high school, stirred by the hormones of adolescence. He got a girlfriend who spoke softly and gently. And this became the start of the second turning point. As family friends, I was brought by him to meet this girl. She was very pretty. If I liked girls, I think I'd want to find a good girl like her too. I sincerely wished the two of them well, hoping they could last long. But his little girlfriend didn't see it that way. Those years when James and I were inseparable became a knot in her heart, making her jealous. She even thought I was retreating to advance, because she always saw me as her love rival. The reason was just a nonsensical joke between the elders. I always thought that with matters you can't explain clearly no matter how you open your mouth, just staying far away was enough. But heaven didn't pity me for my retreat. One day, she couldn't hold back anymore and used James' phone to call me out. We often had gatherings since childhood. So I thought this was just like before. A gathering of a few good friends that would end soon. By the time I realized something was wrong, it was too late to escape. I saw that little girl who was soft and gentle just days ago now with a fierce look in her eyes. And I knew she hadn't listened to a word I said. I didn't want to get too entangled with an irrational person, since I needed to protect my body. But I forgot that jealousy can make people unrecognizable. An irrational person is capable of anything. I wanted to run, but afraid of hurting that soft and gentle little girl, I could only keep explaining and promising, hoping she'd come to her senses. But I didn't succeed. The people she found pushed me down from the building, head first. I could only try to protect my head and pray to heaven to spare me this time. But heaven didn't grant my wish. I was in the hospital for 3 days, barely saving my life. But I lost the spot I worked so hard to get and all future chances to compete. My career was ruined. And that year, I was only 17, perhaps out of guilt. In the end, James still married me. I glanced at James, suppressing his anger, feeling nothing inside, even wondering why the food was taking so long. My gaze swept over the others. They all bowed their heads in fear, and no one here dared to touch me. After all, these past years, I never gave up exercising, even though I'm not as strong as before. Giving them a few slaps is still very painful. Just as I was anxiously waiting, the waiter started serving the food. I picked up my chopsticks, ignoring the others, selected some dishes I liked, and was about to start eating. But James seemed to have found an outlet for his anger. He snatched my rice bowl, threw it hard on the ground, and roared at me. "Emma White, what do I have to do for you to let me go?" I looked at the food spilled on the ground, feeling a bit regretful. During those years training with the coach, my diet was extremely strictly controlled. I didn't dare eat many things, especially during puberty. The sudden increase in fat made me very irritable. I got through it purely with my willpower and strong physique. After getting injured, I couldn't handle the same heavy training load as before. And to stay healthy, I had to control my diet even more. When I became a coach, I worked so hard I forgot to eat and sleep. Come to think of it, it's been a long time since I had a proper meal, and I don't quite understand why James wants me to let him go. After all, I'm not choking his neck, forcing him to do anything. When you make your own decisions, even if the outcome is unsatisfactory, you should look for reasons within yourself, not push everything onto me and be a useless coward. Perhaps dissatisfied with my silence, James lifted my chin, full of disgust, and said, "Emma, you really disgust me." I looked at the man with a twisted face in front of me, flexed my left hand, and punched him in the face. Maybe he never expected me to strike here. James was directly knocked to the ground. He wasn't much taller than me to begin with. Now, lying at my feet, he looked even more ridiculous. I slowly crouched down and used my hand to lift James Howard's chin, forcing him to look up at me. Seeing his disgusted and terrified expression, I gave a faint smile. "James, have I ever told you not to yell at me? Especially when I'm eating? I'm injured and I don't like your noise. Got it?" After saying that, I looked back at the others who were standing there like statues. "Everyone, the dishes are all here. Let's start the meal." Only then did they seem to wake up from a dream and obediently sit down to start eating. And James was helped back to his seat by his good friends. Obviously, he still hadn't recovered from the shock. But what did that matter to me? The wasted years of my career couldn't be made up for with just one punch. Since I started practicing boxing, my physical condition has improved significantly. A healthy diet and regular routine every day quickly made me stronger. My strong physique made me stand out even among boys. It was precisely because of my difference that my classmates' hostility towards me grew. I knew they were scared because I'd heard more than once some classmates wondering if I would attack them. After all, those who had seen me compete knew I was really strong. The rapid deterioration of my relationship with James also happened in the first year of junior high school. With the popularity of online novels, the pent-up hormones of teenagers seemed to have an outlet. As a student in the class with a good family background and good looks, James naturally became the center of attention. Many female classmates daydreamed about a fairy tale-like romantic love with this young master, like the story of a prince and a Cinderella. So, I, who was close to him, became the target of their hostility. When I was surrounded and insulted by those girls again, I snapped. Having received professional training, my physical fitness was naturally far beyond those delicate girls. Looking at the girls lying on the ground, I regretted for a moment that I couldn't control my temper. Just then, James came in with a group of his friends who had just finished playing basketball. People always tend to feel sorry for the seemingly weaker one first. So, I became the bully. Seeing James' disappointed look, I felt a bit sad. On an impulse, I confessed my love to him on my way home that night. But as it turns out, one shouldn't make decisions on impulse. I thought since we grew up together, even if he didn't like me, things wouldn't get too ugly. But after hearing my confession, he just sneered and said the most vicious words I've ever heard in my life. He said, "Emma, no one would like a fat pig. I've always been satisfied with my figure. After all, without this healthy body, I couldn't have achieved so much." So, I knew this man was rotten. One shouldn't jump into the mud and then learn to struggle. From that day on, I started to deliberately distance myself from James, putting an end to my unrequited love in adolescence. But obviously, this incident wasn't over. What happened that night was exposed. When those people in the class mocked me as a fat pig, I locked eyes with James across the crowd. The moment James lowered his head, I knew he was feeling guilty. Good. Very good. I flexed my wrists and walked through the crowd that was laughing at me and stood in front of James. He looked at me guiltily and was about to say something when he was greeted by my powerful punch. After a scream. Those who had been mocking me fell silent. I scanned the crowd. Good. They were all scared. That was enough. As long as they were in awe, it meant I was right. However, it's wrong to hit someone. So, after the school called our parents, my parents actively cooperated and paid a large amount of compensation. Seeing their humble attitude, I thought I had done something wrong. On the way home in the car, they told me, "Emma, you're amazing, and you're in good health. You're not what those people say, but it's wrong to hit someone." So Mom and Dad apologized. Don't think too much. Okay. At that moment, I knew I had someone to back me up. And my little brother was acting like a grown-up. Wait. My little brother. Right. I have a little brother. When the phone screen lit up again, I looked at the note Tom. A chill ran down my spine and I felt a twinge of unease. Oh no. I forgot about my little brother, Thomas, who was so busy but still took time out of his schedule to come with me to catch my cheating boyfriend. As soon as I answered the call, there was a roar from the other end of the line. "Emma, you'd better have torn that scumbag to pieces by now. Otherwise, it'll tear you apart if I'm still called Thomas." Hee. I quickly apologized with a smile. "Dear Tom, I was wrong. I wanted to say that he didn't actually have the last name White. He took our mom's last name, Green. But if I said that at this moment, he'd really cut off my allowance and send me to clean the toilets." There was a low curse from the other end. And then he said, "Give the phone to that scumbag. Then go and get me a cheesy potato and a milk tea. And get one for Michael. Forget it. He has a urine test later, so he shouldn't drink it. Get David a pork chop rice too." "Yes, sir." After saying that, I handed the phone to James. "Here. Our family's Tom wants to talk to you." Then I happily went out to place the order. After giving instructions to the waiter, I found a random seat in the lobby and sat down. After a while, James came out with a dark look on his face and returned the phone to me. No need to ask. Just by looking at his expression, I knew Thomas hadn't let him off easily. They say there's no such thing as a perfect person. And I agree. Take my little brother, Thomas, for example. He's good-looking, has excellent grades, is calm and self-controlled, has a sharp mind, and has an amazing figure. He's also a well-recognized leader in the industry. But this guy has a really sharp tongue. Once he's dissatisfied with something, his mouth is like a machine gun, leaving no one unscathed. Moreover, his attacks are different from our physical ones. They're like a wide-spreading, high-damage ultimate skill. So I'm sure James is feeling pretty bad right now. But I don't feel sorry for this spineless jerk. Just then, the things I ordered were ready. So I ignored James, who was standing there like a statue. I was going to see my best little brother in the world. After getting in the car, Thomas didn't say much. He just told Michael, who had been moved to the driver's seat, to start the car and then closed his eyes, looking at the dark circles under his eyes. I felt a twinge of pity for him. He had just come back from a business trip and was supposed to adjust his jet lag. But when he heard that I received anonymous texts and videos, he still came with me without hesitation. He said, "Emma, I thought you might need me." I admit that at that moment, this little brother who was 4 years younger than me gave me a sense of security. He's so reliable. He originally wanted to go in with me, but at that time, I still held on to a glimmer of hope. I thought, what if this was just someone's prank? After all, it was just a newly created account, and the things sent weren't confirmed to be true. If we rushed in rashly, there would definitely be a big commotion, and people would start gossiping. So it was better for me to go in first to check the situation. While he and his assistant waited outside for the right moment, he respected my decision. I just didn't expect it to be all true. James had really cheated on me. He had even been hiding it from me for at least 3 years because there was a sign in the private room saying 3-year and Ivor. Sorry, they didn't have kids and couldn't get married. This meant that James had been cheating on me for at least 3 years. Cry if you want to, I heard Thomas say as he was closing his eyes to rest. Don't hold it in. I've been working so hard at the company, making money, competing for resources, status, and influence, not to let our family's girl be treated like a dog by others. Hearing his words, I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. Why did everything change so quickly? When I woke up from a coma, looking at the tubes in my body and my numb right hand, I knew my career was over. They say people should look forward, but when it really comes to it, it's so hard to move on. I could have had a glorious future. I had already joined the national team. As long as I trained hard, given time, I would definitely stand on a higher stage. I believe that anyone who experienced the summer event in 2008 would not give up the chance to represent the country in a competition if they were offered one. If I had never had this opportunity, it would have been okay. But the fact that I had it and then lost it due to an innocent disaster only made me more miserable. And more miserable than me were my family members. During that time, our whole family was trapped in a strange and painful situation. Everyone understood everything but said nothing. We started to torture each other in this silent confrontation. Just then, James Howard suddenly barged in, maybe because of his appearance. I had an outlet for all my anger, but he just kept on tolerating my harsh words and my frequent beatings. It's impossible not to regret. After all, we had been good friends for so many years, and I had loved him for so long. How could I just cut it off? I thought he was just putting on a show. After all, I suffered that innocent disaster because of his girlfriend. But he was really pursuing me. After I went to college, he would often come to see me. After graduation, I accepted an invitation from the provincial team coach and went back to be a coach. He still didn't give up. He just silently followed me. From the age of 17 to 24. A full 7 years. I thought that even if it was an act, after 6 or 7 years, there should be at least a bit of real feelings. So, in the 8th year, we got married. Everyone was happy about our union, except my family. They still remembered the way I was lying in bed with tubes in my body, struggling to survive. So every time James went to my home, they didn't give him a good look. At first, I thought they were overreacting, but now I understand that in this world, apart from myself, only my family loves me the most. They love me. So when I said I wanted to marry him, they didn't stop me and did their best to help me prepare everything. They don't like James, so even after I married him, they won't change their attitude because of me. They will remember all the malice James showed towards me until I wake up again. So, James, you see, your little favors can't tie me down at all. Are you touched again? Thomas Green sneered, halfway through my tears. I felt a chill on my back and knew that this great guy was about to unleash his anger again. David Lee naturally put on earplugs and kindly put on noise-canceling headphones for Michael, who was driving. Finally, he handed me a pair. looking at his helpless expression. I knew I was doomed. I told you to think it over before marrying him. You were like a dog seeing dog poop, rushing up to take a taste. Now, you've made us all sick. I leaned my head against the car window, my heart empty. Brother, can you love me again? On the third day after I got home, James stopped me outside the community. His suit was terribly wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. Obviously, he hadn't been doing well these days. He reached out to grab me, but I dodged. Emma. Let's have a talk. His voice was extremely hoarse. I glanced at my watch. You've got 5 minutes. That girl, he said with difficulty. We've broken up. At first, I just thought she was very similar to you. So I almost burst out laughing. Mr. Howard. Do you think this is a TV drama? Do you know what's most important to you now? Hurry up and delete all those domineering CEO novels from my phone. Reading too many of them will really make you take them seriously. It's true. He suddenly grabbed my shoulders. Since you started working, you rarely let me touch you. I'm a normal man. I have desires and needs. I just wanted to find someone like you. I raised my elbow and hit him, watching him bend down in pain. I said, first, the reason I don't let you touch me is that your skills are so bad that I don't know how to describe them. Second, I took out a stack of photos from my bag and threw them in his face. You still have time to keep a few young girls while chasing me. Mr. Howard. You really know how to have fun. The photos scattered on the ground. 3 girls with different styles but all resembling me were cuddled up to him intimately. James' face turned deathly pale. You investigated me. No. I stepped over the photos. They contacted me on their own. After all, I leaned close to his ear. With your stingy look. Which girl can stand it? They can get some money just by contacting me and sending a few photos. Guess which side they'll choose. James suddenly knelt down. Emma, give me another chance. I looked at the hidden malice and disgust in his eyes and knew that Thomas had intervened. The Howard family's business has been faring worse in recent years, under the current economic downturn and with some wrong decisions made. It can't keep up with the White family's pace. At the beginning, the Howard family was indeed stronger than the White family in every aspect, coupled with my brother and I being poor students. Our parents were the center of negative discussions for a long time. Many people would belittle our family and praise the Howard family when talking about the two families, as if it could make them rich. Even at the beginning, when Emma and her brother Michael signed up for the wrong class, they were laughed at for a long time. But Emma's parents were really amazing. Facing the malice from all directions, they could still chat and laugh with others cheerfully. Their ability to handle stress was off the charts. At first, Emma thought these things were just a joke. But unexpectedly, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Emma and Michael actually opened up a new path. Sometimes, Emma also wondered if her parents had just made a serendipitous mistake or had far-reaching plans. Otherwise, they were just too lucky. After that, Thomas seemed to have awakened. He began to outperform James in every aspect. He was younger and more outstanding. Naturally, James was outshone. Due to James, Emma and her family had already endured a lot of ridicule. Moreover, Emma's injury was also related to James. So Emma's parents had never been very satisfied with this marriage. Maybe James really wanted to marry Emma at that time. So they signed a prenuptial agreement. There was not much in-depth economic entanglement between the two companies, and Emma had her own career plan. After graduating from college, she was invited to become a coach of the provincial team and didn't work in her family's company. One could say that in this marriage, Emma and her family didn't get much benefit. On the contrary, because of Emma's presence, the Howard family could occasionally get some help from the Green family. They were in a mediocre state but still managed to survive. Everyone envied James for getting a helper without doing anything. He didn't need to run around and ask for help whenever he needed something. But now it seemed that James might not think so. For some reason, the scene of Emma being pushed downstairs suddenly popped into her head. Then a bold idea emerged. James. Emma looked at the reluctant man and asked absent-mindedly, "Was it really that girl who sent me the message and called me out?" Hearing this, James suddenly raised his head, his face full of panic. At that moment, Emma understood the whole truth. Why would a stranger who had never met her have so much inexplicable malice towards her? Moreover, since joining the provincial team, Emma often had closed-door training and seldom went home. It was even rarer for her to meet James. Under normal circumstances, no one would think that there could be any relationship or affection between the two of them. Even if there was, it would have been worn away long ago. How could someone think that Emma was trying to steal someone from her just because they were inseparable as children? But there were abnormal situations. Like someone sowing discord. Emma had never met this girl before. The only person who could make them have an intersection was James. If it wasn't with his permission, how could that girl get access to his phone? After all, as the future heir of the Howard family, there must be a lot of important people and messages in his phone. If he so easily gave the password to a little girl, his ability would be too poor. After figuring all this out, Emma suddenly felt disgusted. Maybe James didn't expect at that time that his elaborate plan, which made Emma lose the possibility of a career and almost cost her life, was just to force her to become the ideal wife in his mind. But in the end, he probably didn't expect that Emma still chose another way to continue her career instead of joining her family's company. Moreover, she didn't even ask for the company's shares. Now she still lived her ideal life with the pocket money her parents gave her every month. "You really make me sick." Emma looked at the hypocritical man in front of her, feeling as if she had swallowed a fly. Two girls who should have had bright futures. Because of his scheme, one lost her life and the other lost her dream future. Emma, listen to me. James, with a pale face, wanted to come and grab her. But Emma didn't give him a chance. She punched him a few times and directly threw him to the ground. Just thinking about those days when the culprit had watched her in pain, watched her scold the innocent girl, watched her break down and cry, watched her torture herself, and she even said thank you for his cost-free company and even married him made Emma furious. James, you must have been very happy when you watched me struggling and calling for help in the mire. Emma punched him in the face again. I knew that a selfish person like you would never start to feel sorry for me just because I got a little hurt. As she spoke, she punched him a few more times, hitting his face hard. After a long time, someone grabbed her hand and slowly helped her up. When Emma turned around, she saw her parents with tears in their eyes, Michael looking worried, and Thomas out of breath. Just as she was about to speak, her vision went black and she fainted. A month later, Emma successfully got the divorce certificate. What a pity. Emma looked at the newly obtained divorce certificate and sighed. If I had known that those few punches were so valuable, I wouldn't have punched him. Then I could have gotten more in the divorce. Hearing this, Thomas didn't even raise his head. He handed a contract to Emma. Sign it. The Sports Rehabilitation Center under the Howard family is yours now. Then you don't have to worry about your young athletes getting injured anymore. Emma opened the contract and suddenly remembered that 17-year-old girl on the hospital bed, with tubes all over her body, crying and saying, "I'll never be able to fight again." Now, 28-year-old Emma raised her coffee cup in the morning sun to welcome a new life. James Howard sat in his office, staring out at the city skyline. He had just received a call from Emma White, who was in tears over something Thomas Green had said. James sighed. He knew Thomas could be insensitive at times. He picked up his phone and dialed David Lee, his assistant. "David, can you reschedule my afternoon meetings? I need to handle a personal matter." As James drove to Emma's apartment, he thought about how complicated things had become since Michael White, Emma's brother, had gotten involved. The White family had always been close, but lately, tensions were high. When he arrived, Emma opened the door, her eyes red from crying. James. The first just don't know what to do anymore. Thomas keeps calling me names, and it's tearing me apart. James comforted her. Emma. You need to stand up for yourself. Don't let him get to you. He suggested they talk to the Green family about Thomas' behavior. The Greens have influence, and they might listen if we approach them respectfully. Later that evening, James met with Thomas at a quiet bar. Thomas. You've got to treat Emma better. She's hurting, and it's not fair. Thomas scoffed. James. You're always defending her. Maybe you should mind your own business. James clenched his fists but kept his cool. He knew escalating things wouldn't help. The next day, James visited the Howard family estate to discuss the situation with his parents. They advised him to stay out of it, but James felt responsible. On his way back, he ran into Michael at a coffee shop. Michael, I know you're protective of Emma, but we need to work together to resolve this peacefully. Michael nodded reluctantly. Fine, James. But if Thomas hurts her again, I won't hold back. That weekend, James organized a meeting between the Whites and the Greens. It was tense at first, but eventually, Thomas apologized to Emma. I'm sorry, Emma. I didn't mean to be so harsh. Emma accepted his apology, and the two families agreed to put the conflict behind them. As they parted ways, James felt a sense of relief. He knew there would be more challenges ahead, but for now, peace was restored.